Well, here we are once again, ladies and gentlemen, with another rankings video. This time I'm going to be ranking the best supporting actor winners of the 2010s. And just like I did with the best supporting actress winners, I'm going to be categorizing them. Starting with the ones that are truly terrible, leading up to the ones that I think are really going to stand the test of time. Before it claims us all. And really, when you take a step back and look at the list as a whole, I'm actually very impressed by how many worthy winners there were. There's actually quite a bit of them. But before we get to those ones, we do have to start off with the terrible picks, the dumpster fire of award recipients. And with all due respect, I gotta start off with Christopher Plummer for beginners.
She proposed to me, you know. I said, look, I love you and we're great buddies, but you know what I am. And then she says, that doesn't matter. I'll fix that. I thought, oh God, I'll try anything.
I think out of all of the respective movies on this list, this is probably the one that most people either won't remember or know anything about. It follows a man named Oliver, played by Ewan McGregor, who starts to grow closer to his father, played here by Christopher Plummer, who comes out as gay after the passing of Oliver's mother. Christopher's character, Hal, becomes more active in the gay community and even takes on a younger lover, wanting to live a more truthful life than what he was previously living. Christopher is fine, at best. This isn't really a performance that screams Oscars, so it does really just come off more as a career win than anything, seeing as he's never won previously. And it's such a shame that this is the movie that they ended up taking the Oscar home for, as it really is growing more of a backlash as of late. Now that we're finally getting more LGBTQ plus actors working, it's very easy to look back at a performance like this and not think of the possibilities that could have been. And as such, this really just comes off as a man who's not gay winning the Oscar for playing a gay man. And yeah, it just doesn't come across as a very good thing. Even if that wasn't the case, this is still not a win that is gonna blow anyone away. It's very forgettable. And with the Oscars having gone on for so long now, these type of performances are going to get lost in the crowd much more than ever before. And sometimes, rightfully so. Now, not too far in front of him is Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies.
I think because of this, they stopped the beating. They let him live. Stoiki mujik. I remember them saying it. Stoiki mujik. Which sort of means like standing man. Standing man.
I think Bridge of Spies is a good example of how now everything Steven Spielberg does needs to be nominated at the Oscars, because good lord was this film fucking boring. You think you're getting a spy thriller, but it's just people talking with little to no suspense. At the center of this snooze fest is Mark Rylance, who plays a Russian spy who is caught and being tried in court for, well, being a spy. Now, I don't think this is a god-awful performance, it's just unmemorable. And what's worse, it's in an unmemorable movie. And the only reason I'm even putting it slightly above Christopher's performance is because at least Steven's name is attached to the film, so I think more people are really gonna remember it just because of that. Oh, and also because Christopher's performance took away from a group that is constantly being overlooked, so, fuck that. But that's really about it. Also, while I try not to talk about who should have won that year with these type of lists, seeing as that I am just looking at the performance itself, it's really hard to still not be salty over victory being taken away from Sylvester Stallone for Creed. In fact, what the hell happened? I remember Sylvester being the frontrunner and many being extremely confident in his win. So what the fuck? Definitely some Oscar fuckery there. Needless to say, that is one that I personally am still very sour on. Okay, so that's one category down. Now let's move on to the performances that are unfortunate. You know, like Christopher Plummer in Beginners unfortunate. The ones that either have already aged very poorly or are already getting a ton of backlash. And I think the biggest perpetrator on this list for that is Jared Leto for Dallas Buyers Club.
Okay, I'm taking you to the hospital.
No.
Rayon.
No.
Rayon, trust me, you need...
No! I don't want to die.
As I mentioned with Christopher Plummer in Beginners, with the rise of the LGBTQ plus roles in films, performances such as these are going to be called into question. I'm not saying that malicious intent was the deciding factor for each of these roles, but there's no denying that this character in particular not only could have gone to someone from that community to show what they could do, heck, it could have led to an Oscar win as well, but also could have benefited from a voice that could do the character justice. The role was made up for the movie, which is not a bad idea. But the tragedy behind the character being the only one that descends back into their old habits while the white bigot is made into the savior is no doubt going to age poorly. And has. That all being said, I do think that Jared Leto does a good job. The tragedy of the character does lead to moments where you do feel for them, and may even bring a tear to your eye. I wish the character was written better, but if we're just looking strictly at the performance, it's not a terrible win. It's just a very unfortunate one. So that's twice that decade the Academy deemed fit to give the Oscar for a performance of a hurtful character. But can you believe it happened a third time? Of course you can. It's the fucking Oscars. So let's talk about Mahershala Ali for Green Book.
And rich white people pay me to play piano for them because it makes them feel cultured. But as soon as I step off that stage, I go right back to being just another nigga to them. Because that is their true culture. And I suffer that slight alone because I'm not accepted by my own people, because I'm not like them either. So if I'm not black enough, and if I'm not white enough, and if I'm not man enough, then tell me, Tony, what am I?
Once again, we get a pretty good performance tied to a not-so-great character. Only this time, it's actually based off a real person, so, you know, screw that person's reputation, I guess. Don Shirley was no doubt a complex person in real life. But when you portray him as this lost being that needs to be saved by, you guessed it, a white bigot, then it's no wonder the family of Don was so against the portrayal. And let me just say once again that Mahershala does do a great job. He's very entertaining at points, and his emotional moments do pack quite a punch. It's just, when you take that step back and see the product as a whole, it's hard not to have that bad taste in your mouth after it's all said and done. I actually would like to see another shot taken at telling Don's story. I do think there's a fascinating movie that could be made if the right people were brought in for it. For now, however, this is the version we get, and that's a real goddamn shame. And with that category out of the way, we're actually left with 6 truly awesome performances. These are the ones that I think are well acted, are gonna stand the test of time, and are very entertaining. I had a hard time picking the first one to talk about, but ultimately I think I have to go with Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
do that? You know, that's not my car. That's my boss's car. And if something were to happen to my boss's car, well, I'd get in trouble. Lucky for you, he's got a spare. Fix it.
Quentin Tarantino continues to bring us some timeless characters, and Brad Pitt's Cliff Booth is definitely another one to add to that long list. As a stuntman for Leonardo DiCaprio's Rick Dalton, Cliff is essentially Rick's best friend, who is there to support him and help him out during this tough time in his life he's having. Cliff's adventures when he's not around Rick are very interesting and honestly lead to some of the film's most intense and suspenseful moments. But really, even when we're following his day-to-day activities, he just has this swagger about him that makes him so entertaining to follow. Would I rank this as the best Quentin Tarantino character ever made? No, not really. But it's still a really entertaining one, and when just looking at it as an Oscar winner, it's one that you're really not going to forget. By the end of the movie, you're almost sad to see him go, like a friend you actually made along the way. And that's honestly, to me, one of the greatest things you can say about a character in a movie. So yes, I really do enjoy that character a lot. But if we're talking about true powerhouse performances, these next 5 are just on another level. And let's jump back with Mahershala Ali, this time for Moonlight.
This one time, I run by this old lady. I was running, hollering, cutting a fool, boy. This old lady, she stopped me. She said, running around, catching about that light. In moonlight, black boys look blue. You blue. That's why I gonna call you. Blue.
Say your name, Blue.
At some point, you gotta decide for yourself who you gonna be. Can't let nobody make that decision for you.
A far better cry than his other win, this is Mahershala showing us what he can truly do, what he's actually capable of. Rather than come across as an act, this feels like a real person. One you can come across in an everyday setting, and it makes you think twice about the environment that both he and protagonist Chiron live in. What's even more impressive is the impact that he leaves behind with such little screen time. I actually almost placed him one step above this one, but I ultimately couldn't just because he does disappear from the movie and the other performances are there for pretty much the entire duration of it, so I didn't do it, but know that I did struggle with it. In the end, I know we're not done seeing Mahershala at the Oscars, and I feel that we'll be seeing him take the win for leading performance very, very soon. If this one alone isn't enough evidence of that, don't forget that he did take it home twice within a short period of time. That's pretty damn impressive. Also very impressive is Christian Bale, whose transformation in just about every film he's in is a marvel to behold. And his role in The Fighter is no exception.
Trouble tonight. That's a good possibility. He comes in here against a good boxer, a young man who can punch, and I would like to say at this time that physically they're just about equal.
Do you remember during my ranking of the Best Supporting Actress winners when I spoke about Melissa Leo winning for this exact same movie, but it being a performance that I barely remembered? And then I said that the first thing that comes to mind when thinking of the fighter is Christian Bale? Well, yeah, that's still true. The movie would be nowhere near as entertaining if it weren't for his presence in it. Kristen is one of those actors that throws himself 100% into every role he does. And while it is very easy to make fun of him due to the outburst that he had during that one time,
Kick your fucking ass! I want you off the fucking set, you prick! No, don't just be sorry. Think for one fucking second. The fuck are you doing?
and being embarrassed because the role ended up being for Terminator Salvation, but, you know, I think that outburst shows just how much dedication he has and how he aims for perfection. And as someone who's done theater and film, I can kind of understand being in the zone only to kind of get dragged out and the frustration that really comes from having that done to you. Like, whether you agree or not, I do think it's hard to not consider this a very deserving win. I do see how some may say that this just looks like Christian Bale and judge it just on that, but the mannerisms, voice, and physical appearance are of that of a man who has definitely done his research and is giving his all to the performance. Mark my words, there's more wins in store for Kristen in the future.
Kick your fucking ass!
As long as he doesn't do that anymore. So we're down to the final three. And while I already know what my number one is gonna be, the next two I did have a harder time coming up with just because I do love both of these characters almost equally. But twist my arm, I'm gonna have to go with Christoph Waltz for Django Unchained at the number 3 spot.
Stop talking to him like that.
Like what?
Like that.
My good man, I'm simply trying to ascertain...
Speak English, goddammit.
Everybody calm down. I'm simply a customer trying to conduct a transaction.
I don't care. No sale. Now off with you.
Don't be ridiculous. Of course they're for sale.
Move it.
My good man, did you simply get carried away with your dramatic gesture, or are you pointing your weapon at me with lethal intention?
Last chance, fancy pants.
Oh, very well.
Kristen was probably the best thing about Inglourious Basterds, which is saying a lot because there is a ton of great things in that movie. Yet while the role was not originally written with him in mind, his character in Django Unchained was. And I am so glad because we got one heck of a character and performance because of it. Playing a mentor to the titular Django and helping him hone his sharpshooting skills, Christoph can be both very funny and very serious. He can also be silly and is prone to let his emotions get the best of him. And I think that's what I really like about him. He's not this all-knowing being with godlike abilities. He makes mistakes, and because of that, I tend to associate more with him. It also helps that he's a complete badass. Now, I will say I do like his performance in Inglourious Basterds better, but I also really love this complete tonal shift from that performance, which proves Christoph in the right hands is a powerhouse performer. 2 left, and I'm not going to keep you in suspense. The next one is Sam Rockwell for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
There was one thing I was thinking.
What's that?
I know he isn't your rapist. He is a rapist, though. I'm sure of that.
What are you saying to me?
Got his license plate.
As I mentioned earlier, I had a hard time choosing between this one and Christoph at number 2. But I ultimately decided I had to put Sam here due to the surprising performance and character at work. I already knew that Christoph was going to give an awesome performance and be an awesome character. I probably would have been more surprised if he wasn't. Yet, with Sam Rockwell, I wasn't sure what to expect. Sure, I knew he would probably give a good performance, but what I wasn't ready for was not only how great it was, but how much the character changed before our eyes. Playing a racist, sexist, hillbilly cop, it's very easy to either hate or be dismissive of this caricature of a person. Yet the movie pulls a fast one on us. At some point, it shifts how we view this character, and how the people we surround ourselves with can shape who we are. And I think it's fucking brilliant. Going from this very stereotypical one-dimensional character to a much more complex, actual human being. And the movie doesn't say, oh, this is a good person. It doesn't say, oh, now he's a good person. Because honestly, even the final decision of the movie, I think, is meant to be very questionable and make you really second guess everything. But again, how we change and how we act just based on the people around us and the people we look up to, I think that is very well done in this movie. And I highly recommend watching it just to see the change of this character. This was such a surprise to me because I was not expecting the film to go this route, and as such is probably what I remember most about the film. The few times I have gone back to see it, it's been to analyze the character more and see the performance on display, which honestly is a very positive thing I can say about any performance. Well, this is going to come as no surprise because I'm pretty sure this person is everybody's number one. J.K. Simmons for Whiplash.
Were you rushing or were you dragging?
I don't know.
Start counting.
5, 6, 7.
In 4, damn it! Look at me!
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Now, was I rushing or was I dragging?
No.
Count again.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Rushing or dragging?
Rushing.
So you do know the difference!
God damn, that's quite a performance. Whenever I hear the phrase, you love to hate him, this is immediately what comes to mind. I remember watching the trailer for the movie and immediately feeling dread. I was almost scared to go watch the movie because of that gut punch the trailer delivers. But from the very beginning, when the movie started, I was captivated. This is a performance that demands to be dissected and studied. There's no doubt this character is an evil man, but below the surface, there's reasoning to his madness. Now, not good reasons, mind you, but weirdly understandable ones. And just like with the protagonist, you go on this emotional journey with him as he interacts with this character. From fear in the first meeting to hate as things start to fall apart, and frustration and despair, and then weirdly enough at the end, you're on this emotional high with him and you're right there, you're excited, and then you reflect and you have to ask yourself, is this right? It's honestly one of the few times I can ever think of that an audience member will feel a sort of Stockholm syndrome while watching a movie. And it all comes back to J.K. Simmons. I cannot imagine another person in this role. It feels tailor-made for him. And while he doesn't disguise who he is, honestly, you only ever see J.K. Simmons, it's the first time we've seen him in such an evil way. We've seen him funny, snarky, and a lovable douchebag. But scary? Yeah, this was definitely a first for me, as it no doubt was and will continue to be for others. I love sharing this movie with other people, and a big reason is for JK himself. That's another big praise I can give a performance, when their work is the reason you fall in love with a movie. And really, what higher praise for an actor is there? I know I'm not the only one with this guy at my number one. Heck, this is probably one of my all-time favorite supporting actor performances. And there's a goddamn good reason for it. And that's all I have for you guys for this rankings video. a lot of really goddamn good performance that decade. Sure, we had our controversial ones and the always forgettable ones, but honestly, I think the good far outweighed the bad. Here's hoping that 2020 is also a great decade for supporting performances. Honestly, I think we're off to a pretty dang good start. So what about you guys? What do you think about my list? How would you rank them? Let me know in the comments below. Like always, stay safe out there, and until next time, have a good one.